Well, I wasn't ready to start recording, but okay.
We're good.
So I'm going to request BPEC and then followed by the items 7H and I be following BPEC. And then item J following that, and then going into cart approval, transcript approval, stuff like that. So we will be speaking to 7B first in discussions, 7H and I, and then J. And then we will go into 7A, 7C, and 7D on. I apologize for the confusion.
Not a problem.
So I call this meeting to order at 3:12 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Gish,
Here.
Jose Eli Fresquez,
Here.
Kendra Garcia,
Here.
Aurora Black.
She's
Okay,
excused. She's
and
excused.
then, okay, and then Angelique Chavez.
She is running late, but she will be here.
Okay, and then Pam Parfit.
Here.
No, yes, she's there. Okay, and Gina Marie.
She is running late.
Okay, and then Elsa is here. Am I correct? And then Christopher. Is Christopher here?
He's excused.
Okay.
And Miriam, do you want to correct your name?
He said Elisa, he said Elsa.
I'm
assume
sorry.
that was me.
Yeah,
Miriam?
that was you.
Okay, and I said here.
Yes, she did say she was here. Okay,
Checking chat 1 second. Yeah, Nadine is still having issues with the chat, and I do see that there is an abnormal delay occurring, so I don't know if that is happening randomly or, you know, what is going on with that. But I am seeing something different happening. So next is approval of the agenda, and like I just stated, I am moving items in order 7B first, followed by 7H and 7I, followed by 7J, and then in order 7A, C, D, E, F, and G.
okay. So with those changes, do we have someone make a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
I make a
I move a
motion.
motion.
Okay.
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna put,
Okay.
I'm gonna put Kendra.
Yeah.
Okay, and then who seconds it?
I'll
Miriam.
second.
You lost it. Okay, I'm gonna put Pam. Okay, so let me go ahead and have a vote on it. May I proceed with the vote?
Yes,
Ms.
yes.
Chair Gish? Okay,
Yes.
Chair Gish,
Yes.
Eli Fresquez,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
and of course, Angelique Chavez. Okay, Pam Parfit,
Yes.
and then Miriam.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you. Next is approval of minutes. Eli?
That's what we're gonna do. Would you like me to speak to that, Chair Gish?
Yeah, you can explain what's going on and then we can present with you
Okay.
guys following.
Okay, that's fine. My understanding, we didn't post any minutes. I was instructed that the minutes are not available because we didn't have we didn't operate under an an agenda that was approved prior to posting. So that's why we don't.
And I want to clarify that that agenda was not created by the chair. It was created by city staff. So Eli, would you like to make a comment?
No, just to clarify for everyone that the last MCD meeting we had, we don't have meeting minutes for that. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
That we can recognize.
Nat, Dean, go ahead.
This is Nat, and I apologize to Pam that I cannot turn on my camera. But I believe that Eli was just speaking. And it just said Eli colon, and then nothing. And then it went to Gish. And now I have a colon. And it says that my colon said nothing. So I hate to be the stick in the mud, but the meeting is not accessible. And it's not just a delay. If it were a delay, it would say Daniel colon, and then it would display what he said. And then if Ms. Gish spoke, it would have Gish, and then it would display what she said. If it had my name, because it just said Daniel was speaking and would display what the meeting is not accessible.
So this is Eli here. Nat, I have the captions opened. If you go down to the bottom of your bar, there's the CC button. You should be able to click on that and the captions will come up. They're working for me on my end.
I've opened, reloaded, opened again, reloaded. And when you were speaking, it said Eli colon and then nothing.
Are the captions not working for anybody else? Because they're working for me on my end.
And
This is
me.
Eli.
They're working for me, but there's an abnormal delay that's occurring, just slightly more than normal. Is there a way to get the link to the text that happens so you can view it in an alternative screen? Maybe that would be more clear.
This is Angelique. They're working on my end as well.
They're working on mine.
Let's see if they're working for me. Yes, they're.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I think that in the past, we had actually stated that we would ask for the link to view alternative ways of viewing the text. And that hasn't been happening. So if that can please happen so that we can provide an alternative screen.
Hi, Chair Gish. This is the captioner. I can
Yeah.
make that happen now if you want to.
Yes, please. I
Yes,
would
do
really
it.
appreciate
So
that. please.
that's fine. Just give me a minute.
That's fine.
Just, I have to set it up. One
No
second.
worries. Thank you so much.
It looks like my captions are locked.
So for folks who aren't reading the captions, it says 1 moment, please. Captions are being rerouted to another link in addition to this one.
All right, the captions are active in both places, and I'm going to put the link to the other screen, which is a full screen, on chat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So for everyone who needs them, the link is now in chat. I don't see Natine. I don't know if she dropped off. But if she comes back, I can message her directly and let her know.
Yes, thank you.
So approval of the minutes is not happening because of the staff creating the agenda, which I did not approve. And so I don't know if you want to give more details, but the city has essentially invalidated the last meeting. All of our votes, everything that we have done. And I'm not really sure how to proceed with that, but to me, it's not valid, and I will be requesting minutes. We held a valid meeting, we voted, it wasn't a completely different agenda. It was a reworded agenda that was pared down so much that it was not transparent about what we were discussing. And I didn't approve that agenda to be published. So that's why we don't have minutes. Next is public comments. Go ahead, Kendra.
So Chair Gish, actually, it's more when it comes to the minutes. Was there a reasoning why, other than, of course, it didn't meet city standards, why we don't have minutes?
Well, they're trying to claim Open Meetings Act, but the agenda was not transparent about what we were discussing. So it in it of itself violated the Open Meetings Act because it was changed
Okay.
to such an extent as to not be clear about what we were going to be discussing, which my original agenda was clear.
Mhm.
And so that is what I have been told. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
it's absolutely, thank you.
This is Eli here. A couple ideas just to throw it out to you guys. And I haven't discussed this with anybody here, but one idea may be, and we've done this in the past, is when we have process issues or things that the mayor's committee recommends or supports, we have done letters that we've sent out. So maybe that's an option for us here. A letter outlining some of our concerns on why the last meeting's minutes weren't included or removed. That's just one idea that comes to mind. That we, if we agree, we could be very short, just to memorialize our concerns with process issues, but not to get too stuck on them either, but to memorialize that. I don't know what people think about that.
Any comments?
Chair Gish?
Go ahead.
As we, you and I have talked about this, the minutes had been modified and posted modified. And then when you came on to the meeting, you were surprised with those modifications, and rightfully so, and chose to, during the meeting, to not recognize that modified agenda. And so you moved with the older agenda you had previously submitted to staff, and that's what you first moved with. And after the meeting, I was informed that that wasn't the recognized posted agenda, and so therefore minutes could not exist on an agenda that hadn't been posted for the public. And I'm trying to make it as simple as it can be. And I do encourage that if you have, yes, do what you need to do, write to whomever you feel needs to be hearing the concerns. I am also here to support this committee, and I will remain objective on things that take place. Of course, you know, as an employee, I will follow directives that are given to me. And I will advocate for the needs of this committee, especially those who require an accommodation in the development of an agenda so that the meeting can flow in an accessible fashion for not just one person, but for more than one. And so for the chair and I, we're working to that end. And we're trying to get people to understand that it's different and it needs to be accessible. And so I hope what I've said helps.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Gina Maria?
I don't know if, based on what Daniel's saying, it would help, but I would definitely support putting something in a letter stating that when we're preparing for our meetings, we need to know what the agenda is. It doesn't,
Yes.
we're discussing topics that are relevant to the city in terms of disability.
Mhm.
We want to be transparent,
Definitely.
and you're supposed to, if I'm not mistaken, approve the agenda.
Yeah, there's a process to approve the agenda, and we actually followed that process.
Okay, so I think it would help to have something in writing. I definitely support that idea. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Angelique, go ahead.
Hi, so I joined a little bit late, but is this even a legal meeting? Like, are we,
Yes, this meeting
Yes.
is.
Yes,
It is?
yes, yes.
Okay,
They did not change my agenda this time.
Okay.
Not significantly, yeah.
okay, thank you. I
Yeah.
was like, wait a second. I didn't know if we were going rogue.
Not yet.
As Robin Williams would say, I'm not qualified to run amok.
So public comments, are there any public comments? Or comments on behalf of someone who cannot be here? Gina Marie, you have your hand raised?
I would like to apologize for missing the last meeting. I'm sorry, there was someone new here from the city that comes like twice a month. And all of a sudden I realized it was 4:45. I was like, oh my God. So please excuse me, I'm sorry. And FEMA lost my resume. I was waiting for an interview for 2.5 hours.
Oh.
But they found it's in the system. So thank you.
Thank you, Gina Maria. So next is presentations. Eli, are you ready to?
Oh yeah, did we want to do mine right away? This is Eli
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when we get to 7, that's why I switched it around what we're gonna do in order, but then 7 is gonna be adjusted. So go ahead.
Okay, so I will be really quick, everyone, but hopefully this is somewhat interesting. We're going to be talking about document accessibility. It's been a big topic recently for lots of different reasons. So maybe I could give just a quick overview of document accessibility, and everyone feel free to chime in. So if you have a question or if you have something to add, please feel free. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my screen on.
Thank you.
Hopefully it's working.
It's strange. It says that you're screen sharing, but that's all I see. I don't see
Yeah.
the document.
And that's too bad because now everything is locked up. Give me 1 second.
I can try and screen share on mine if that.
Yeah, hold up.
You're gonna have to tell me then though when to. All right, Eli said his computer crashed. 1 second.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you.
we
Oh,
can hear you now.
it's still. I'm not seeing anything on my screen, so. if I
Are you able to
can-
present without the material and we can listen to what you have to say?
I mean, my computer doesn't, it's black. Wait, hold up, it's coming back.
Yay.
All right, maybe I'm back. Let's see if we can try this again.
Yay.
All right. I like your little icons.
Okay, how are we looking?
Good.
Good? All right.
Yep.
Fabulous.
So accessible documents, the importance of making accessible documents. I think, everyone here knows this, right? I think for some lay people, we have to explain that. But I just want to emphasize that good accessible design is really good for everyone. So when we're thinking about the physical world or the digital world, when we provide for access, we really create accessibility for all, right? It's kind of a mantra that we use, but it's very true with accessible documents. Now, what I wanted to touch on is really a few things, big things like alternate text, right? We want to make sure that we have alternate text. Descriptive hyperlinks. That's something that a lot of people don't know about, but we'll go over that. Color contrast, right? That's very obvious, but there are some color contrast requirements that we need to be aware of. Heading structure. I hope folks know about some heading structures because that's a best practice for document accessibility. Of course, plain language, right? So this is clear and concise language that avoids jargon. Very challenging, but something that I think we could all do better with. So with these, with here, I just wanted to also point out that we want to make sure that we have compatibility with assistive technologies. And there are a lot of different screen readers out there that is usually the thing that comes to mind, like NVDA or JAWS. And also, when we design these documents, there are some best practices out there, but it's really about knowing your audience, right? So think about who that audience is when we're creating these accessible documents. Okay, so the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. We've mentioned this many times, but I just wanted to, go back, level set. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which were created by the Worldwide Consortium back in the late 90s, developed these best practice tools. And they cover perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. These are the pillars of WCAG. There's an entire course you can take and many, many courses on the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. But those are really the starting places for not just document accessibility, but for website accessibility. The compliance levels are A, AA, and AAA. They build on each other. So you have A, then AA covers A and extra conformance standards, and then AAA is the highest standard. For the most part, AA standards are what we want to meet, whether it's documents or websites or other kinds of digital communications. Okay, so PDFs, best practices for PDFs. The main thing with a PDF is that you got to think about it as almost its own little mini website, because PDFs can be tagged and can be created with hyperlinks in a way so that they are navigable, unlike a document that a person who is sighted will read from left to right. So PDF accessibility is actually can get very complex. There are vendors out there that you can hire to help make accessible PDFs, but there are some little tricks and tools you can use for creating simplistic PDFs that are very accessible. And these are things when we talk about OCR, right? The optimization so that you can visualize them. There are built-in software that you can utilize to create more accessible PDFs. Now, long, big PDFs that are very, high volume, those will often need to have certain kinds of tags. So a tagged PDF is really like the internal structure of the PDF that you want to make sure that you tag properly. And then there are bookmarks and hyperlinks and logical structure. And those are things within a PDF that help guide a person who's using a screen reader or other kinds of assistive technologies to kind of work through that PDF. And then, of course, alternate text, right? So we want to make sure that those images have descriptions within the PDF. Again, simple PDFs, pretty easy to do. Those big, long document PDFs, those can get pretty involved and pretty complex and dynamic. Okay, so making Word documents accessible. Really what you want to do is you want to use your styles. And I could show you all how to do that. It's pretty simple. It's on the top of your screen, and you want to use your styles to create headings. When you create your headings, when you convert it into a PDF, it then converts those tags into PDF. So it creates an accessible PDF. If you have an inaccessible PDF, it's usually because it was originally a Word document that someone didn't create accessible to begin with. So the best way to create an accessible PDF is to create an accessible Word document before you convert it into a PDF. And to create an accessible Word document, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's not that complicated. It really just takes a little bit of awareness on how to use heading styles. Plain language, I mentioned that earlier, right? That's jargon. Those are words that are complex and hard to understand. Alternate text, of course, you want to add into your Word document as well. Now the accessibility checker. All the Microsoft products now have accessibility checkers, and they're pretty cool. So you can use it in your Word document. It's similar to spell check. You can just click on that accessibility checker and it will look at your document and it will tell you missing alt text. It'll tell you things like color contrast. Now it doesn't do plain language. It won't capture styles and headings, by the way, which is really interesting. But it will capture other issues on your document. So utilize that accessibility checker in your Word document. Create accessible Word documents, and then when you convert them into PDF, all that accessibility will carry with it into your PDF. Questions so far? Make sense? This is super high level, y'all. Yeah. Okay.
This is good. This is good.
Okay. Email accessibility tips. Something that's often ignored. You really, again, you want to use clarity, concise logical flow, hyperlinks. So here's something really interesting, right? You ever seen that click here on a website? And it's just standalone. If you're using a screen reader, that can be inaccessible because your screen reader is not going to know what click here means. Instead, you need to have a descriptive hyperlink that describes where it's going. So an example, instead of click here, you might want to have something that says, click here to go to X, Y, and Z. A lot of people don't know about this, but it can be very confusing for a screen reader if you just have simple terminology like click here. Lots of our websites have that, right? So that's something just to be aware of. And you can create that descriptive hyperlink pretty easily. Again, accessibility checkers, you have that on your Microsoft Outlook. It's all there. Click on it, utilize it when you can. Know your audience though, right? So if it's something that it's communication between two colleagues and you know that both people don't have disabilities or other kinds of needs, probably fine, right? But if you're sending out a large email with an image to say the disability community, something you want to be aware of. You want to make sure that you have that accessibility checker, you got those hyperlinks, you have concise and logical flow, and that you have alternate text in your images. So PowerPoint, same thing. You have an accessibility checker in your PowerPoint. One of the couple of things that come up with PowerPoints, one, alt text, very obvious, right? Descriptive links, plain language, mentioned that. Content structure and formatting. The PowerPoint will actually tell you how a screen reader will read each slide. So if you don't have your slide properly structured, it will flag that. And you got to go back in and assign how the screen reader will go through each of your PowerPoint slides. It does take a little bit of time. Now, what I have found for PowerPoints is if you use the InDesign PowerPoints, the designs that are already built within PowerPoint, they're going to be largely really accessible. So you're going to be pretty good if you just use the built-in PowerPoints. It's kind of when you go off and build your own PowerPoint, which I like to do. You got to really go in there and work it and make sure it's accessible. Again, there's a checker on PowerPoint, on Microsoft PowerPoint, to check for accessibility. The other fun thing is that now PowerPoint actually has an accessibility bar. So you can build your PowerPoint accessible from the get-go. You don't even have to use the checker. So it'll check things like color contrast. It will make sure that as you're typing, that it's doing the logical flow. It's pretty intensive, and it's something that's brand new that's come out in the last few months, is the accessibility bar for PowerPoint. So there's a lot of resources out there. WebAIM is probably my favorite. It comes out of University of Utah, and they have tons and tons of resources. They also have the Wave, which is a automated accessibility checker for websites and other kinds of digital formats. Adobe Accessibility, that's like a go-to for any kind of Adobe remediation. It's not 100%, so there are, for those more complex PDFs, there are software that's built for it. And then, of course, Word document accessibility that you can find in Microsoft. There's tons of resources out there as well. So I'd love to expand on this. I think it's we can actually do some trainings on how to make a Word document, for example, more accessible using those styles, using those headings. And then how do you convert it into a PDF and make sure that you have bookmarks and that you have your hyperlinks properly embedded. And I want to emphasize this too, is know your audience, right? So if these are things that can be done, they need to be done very quickly between two colleagues. That's one thing. If it's something that you know that's going out to the public, that's a whole other thing. Any other questions? Sorry, that was really quick, and it was kind of hard to go through it without getting into the details, but that's high level. Use your checkers like a spell check, alt text, styles in Word, PDFs. There's going to be a logical flow that you'll need to review, but now there's a new tool. Emails should also be accessible, but know your audience.
Gina Maria?
I know that you used to have that group that would meet for an hour every month or something. That was fabulous. Are you not able to continue doing that?
Yeah, so the state of New Mexico has the Digital Accessibility and Inclusion Collaborative, or we call it the CoLab.
Yeah.
And we put it together 2 years ago, and we had a good run, and it went sort of in hibernation for a little bit, and it's coming back though for Global Accessibility Awareness Day, for GAD. So GAD is this month. I believe it is May 16th, and we will be having another kickoff of our CoLab. So I will be sure to share that with everyone if they want to participate. I know Kendra, you had been on a couple of times, and what it is it's a collaborative across the state where we look at digital accessibility, we brainstorm, but then we have workshops. So we have workshops on document accessibility, how to use a screen reader, website accessibility, obviously, other kinds of digital communications. Social media accessibility was a really big one, big topic that came up, but lots of conversation there. Some additional compliance questions and answer sessions. So it was really popular, but it was on hibernation for a little bit, but it will be coming back. And that will be on GAD, which is Global Accessibility Awareness Day. I'm just double checking, and that's going to be
Not on the
on May
calendar.
16th.
It's not set up yet. It's not on the calendar.
Yeah, I'll be sure to invite everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. That'd be fabulous.
And
Daniel, I see your hand up.
Yes, yeah, include me in with those kinds of endeavors. Also, I would encourage this committee, if possible, to form a subcommittee. And we were talking about you communicating in a letter to the city or to whoever or leadership that you would like to participate in assisting the city in becoming more accessible. I feel that the participation of people and citizens with disabilities, especially this group, towards that end is what we need to do, is working together to achieve that so that we achieve the compliance level at the highest that we can. We're never going to be 100% accessible. I don't know anyone who will be when it comes to digital, but we could identify what would be a best practice for City of Santa Fe. And through our office and with you, we can encourage the various departments to achieve that compliance, especially because if we ever in the future have other people with disabilities on the council, they will automatically be accessible. And we want to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Chair Gish, do we want to talk about the new rules under ADA Title II, or?
I
is that-
think, yeah, I think just mention, just very briefly that it passed, and then we will go into more of detail in the next meeting, because, I was thinking that it's kind of complex to get into, but I think that just acknowledging that it's passed and what it will do and what it will do to help the city of Santa Fe with the website, and all of the things we've been working towards achieving, knowing that it was coming and now it's here.
Absolutely. And Daniel, feel free to add in here, but since the ADA was passed in 1990, I think there's been a few big milestones. One of them was in 2010, for example, when the ADA standards for accessible design were laid out. And I think this is equal to that. This is really, really big. These are new rules under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act that apply to all in state and local governments across the country. We're talking tens of thousands of jurisdictions, and they're required to conform to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, the WCAGs that I just mentioned, 2.1 AA, in 2 years for any state and local of 50,000 or more, and 3 years for those smaller jurisdictions or special districts.
And let me add to that. I've been talking to my colleagues throughout the country that understand the requirements, that understand the fact that it is critical to comply, because if the 2 years pass and you have done nothing towards compliance and Department of Justice evaluates you from Washington, because they'll test your website and accessible features, and if you don't have them and they choose to take action against you as a government, that in most of their settlement agreements that they're reaching is they can dictate at that moment for the next 5 years that 25% of your annual budget will be dedicated to compliance. And that would be a settlement, or you could choose to fight them in court. And if you lose, you will pretty much lose all your funding that they provide at the federal level. And if they're providing to the state, it can go down that road. So it can become aggressive if you choose to do nothing. So that's why cities that are working on it now, you can hear it out there. They're working hard to come into compliance. This city is working in that direction. We're already starting to have some meetings. And like I said earlier, I encourage this committee to create a subcommittee so that we can listen to what you have to say, so we can identify the things that maybe we're not aware of. And so this is critical. This is something that we just can't take lightly and think that by doing nothing, we're going to be okay, because we won't be okay, because this is serious.
Yeah, just to add to that, and I'll be quick, is I think now's a good time to really work on the planning features of this, the policy and governance, because you really want to prioritize those things that are part of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and also identify what those exceptions are and how to prioritize around that. There are 5 exceptions that include like archived content, things that are on social media posts prior to when the regulations were implemented. So there's a lot of different sort of facets to it and nuances that I think make a lot of sense so that you're not doing things that are non-conformant or that aren't a good prioritization of resources and time. So you want to make sure you conform, but there are going to be places where you may want to even go above and beyond the web content accessibility guidelines, depending on the community you're working with. So I think this is a good time to really try to plan, create policy, look at those exceptions. What does it mean to have different kinds of internal processes in order to make sure that we meet those guidelines by April 24th of 2026.
Yeah, thank you. And Vicky, Nat Dean is trying to get back in. I don't know if you're seeing her trying to sign in again. Vicky, let me know if you see her. So one thing that I'm being mindful of the time, and I know Phil, you wanted to give a presentation, but I'm thinking to ask if we can give that after so that we can talk with Counselor Cassett, and I saw Alexandra Ladd. Thank you, Alexandra, for being here. Just signing in to discuss the amendments to the Fair Housing Ordinance. And I know we have about a half hour, so I'm thinking to hold a vote to discuss that next, if that's possible. To make a motion to discuss that next and then proceed as we were planning.
Chair Gish, I would also check in with Counselor Michael Garcia. I know I have to leave at 4:30 to get to the same meeting that he has to get to at 5.
Okay.
So
Okay,
Counselor, I don't know what your time frame is as well, but wanted to make sure that was noted.
yeah, thank you for that. And that's fine. And Counselor Garcia, we can also discuss the BPEC issue another time if the next meeting works better. So I'm thinking, yeah, we can maybe like do back to back for Counselor Cassett and then Counselor Garcia in reverse order that we were planning. To
So
hold a
do we
vote.
need a motion
Yeah.
for
Yes.
item 7H to be moved?
Yes.
Okay.
So item 7,
motion.
Gina Maria, go ahead.
I so motion.
Is there a
Do
second?
we have a second?
I second.
Okay,
Thank you.
got that second. Okay.
I know we're supposed to do roll call votes.
Let's go ahead and vote. Catherine Gish,
Here, I mean, yes.
Eli Frescas,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia.
Yes.
Angelique Chavez. Okay, and Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Gina Marie,
Gina Maria, yes.
Maria, sorry.
It's okay.
Miriam,
Yes.
and there we go.
Mhm.
Thank you. So
Sure.
this is an introduction of the amendments that are being proposed to include income source discrimination as well as sex, and there's other clarifications in the language. And then we have a letter of support that I drafted. We can amend it if anyone has any amendments or suggestions on how to clarify it. This week has been very crazy for me. I'm sure it has been for everyone else as well. So, I mean, really, literally any suggestions to make it more concise or anything will be welcome. So, but Counselor Cassett and Alexandra Ladd, thank you both for being here. We really, really appreciate this amendment being proposed as well as you being here. So thank you, Counselor Cassett. Do you want to go ahead and
Sure,
introduce-
absolutely. I'm trying to find a place where my photo is clear. Oh, there we go. That's better. I don't have as much of a glare if I go to this part of my house. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for your support for this bill. The gist of it is that we are adding source of income or as a well, we're prohibiting discrimination based on source of income for rentals. So if individuals have vouchers, that cannot be utilized as a reason for landlords to deny them, and it does have to be considered when they are looking at the applicant's total available revenue in order to pay for a rental on a monthly basis. So this is step one. We do have some other work that we're doing looking at enforcement of discrimination. That does get a little bit more complex at the city, or I'm sorry, retaliation at the city level. But in terms of how we would enforce this, there are some enforcement mechanisms that align with our work around living wage that the city attorney's office would be able to provide a lot more detail and the technicality of that. So this is the first change that we are making, and then we are still working on some other pieces when it comes to making sure that landlords cannot retaliate against individuals for organizing, for bringing to attention any of these discrimination pieces. And so we'll continue to be doing that work, and we will let you know when that one's ready.
Excellent.
Alexandra, did I miss anything? There were some technical changes in terms of definitions of what does it mean to be an owner, and we added sex and gender also to the list of things that you cannot discriminate against an individual for when renting a property.
Yeah, I think I did want to thank you, Madam Chair, if it's okay if I just add on to that. That is a good point. Some of the corrections are really obvious. One of them that's not so obvious is the definition of what sex means under federal fair housing law. Initially, it was a fairly narrow definition. It was basically, are you male or female? And it covered sexual harassment at a federal level. So when we wrote our fair housing ordinance, we really wanted to also cover sexual orientation. So we wrote that into the ordinance. Fast forward 20 years, and at the federal level, sex is now considered much more expansively by the courts, and does now also includes sexual orientation, gender identity, as well as the more traditional identification or definitions of sex. So that's another language clarification we're making, because since we had made our local ordinance a little more expansive with the new federal understanding, all of a sudden it wasn't as expansive. So we're sort of adding the language, almost adding it back in just to make it match what the federal law covers, the federal fair housing law.
Thank you, Alexandra. This is why I always need Alexandra anywhere in my life. I did also want to add, Councilor Castro is co-sponsoring this with me, but I really do want to make sure that a lot of credit is given to Councilwoman Villarreal, who was spearheading this, who did so much of this work prior to her leaving office when she finished her term. And so I was very grateful that she tapped me to continue to carry this on. But just want to make sure that she gets this recognition because she worked very hard on this.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, so I wanted to ask if anyone has any comments or questions or anything for Alexandra or Councilor Cassett. And if not, then I will proceed. No? Okay. So this has been a priority of the Mayor's Committee since at least 2017. And we have discussed in the past with Alexandra Ladd various, issues around discrimination of housing and access issues and things like that. And it is very much something that affects people with disabilities, seniors, disabled veterans. And so I wanted to share again that, I remember conversations, and I wish Aurora was here because she would probably remember who said it. I don't remember, but it may have been her, but it may have also been we had a member named Victor who was a disabled veteran. But there was a discussion about a disabled veteran who was trying to find housing in Santa Fe. This was around 2017, 2018. And landlords were saying that because he was not employed, his income was not valid to them for rentals. And that even shocked me because, being disabled, I'm like, okay, SSI is something that's not commonly understood, but veterans benefits is, you would think, would be more respected and understood, but it still was not. And so it just validated to me the need to have something that prevents this kind of discrimination in the city of Santa Fe. And that was in addition to my own experiences, which I will get to in a minute, but Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, and my experience coming to Santa Fe from Texas, and I had income, but coming here, they wanted me to prove I had a job here, specifically here, even though I have my own company in Texas. And I even offered to pay 2 to 3 months in advance, and they declined it. It was these higher level apartment complexes that were being they were blocking that, and I didn't understand what was happening. And now this is more clear. This is interesting. It's a cultural thing then.
Yeah, it's been a long-standing issue. So I will try and keep this really brief because I know
Yes.
in the interest of time and getting to the letter, but when we first moved, me and my mom first moved to Santa Fe, we were very, very lucky. We literally just picked up and left. We got an opportunity to leave and we just came here. It was like a 6-month decision. We came here, everything fell into place. We were supposed to be here. We got housing within 3 weeks. That was 20 years ago. Yeah. Like I said, everything fell into place. I think we were very lucky even then. By 2010, so this was just 7 years later, we decided to try to get out of low income tax credit housing. We wanted a yard. We wanted something nice that we had where we used to live. And we decided and it was also because of our disability needs to, be able to have access to outside and not be stuck in an apartment. And in addition to management issues in the low income tax credit housing they were not dealing with maintenance and things like that. So there was a lot going on. We decided to try to move and we ended up being homeless for 2 months because no one would rent to us. We had a 35-year documented rental history with no lates, thank you letters, thank you for cleaning the home, thank you for maintaining it, thank you for everything. We were in the process of trying to buy a house through Section 8. And so we had our credit scores extremely high. Like we qualified for a conventional loan. The only thing that prevented us from buying a house was that our incomes were too low even when combined with the voucher. So the only things that we could afford was fixer-uppers in the city of Santa Fe. And we were begging for, assistance for down payments, for third and fourth mortgages, all of these things that they were offering. And for some reason, everything fell through. Absolutely everything fell through. The only place that we could get a house at the time was not on a bus line. It was outside of the city. It was not on a bus line. There was no way that we could live there, being disabled and needing public transportation. So we ended up stuck for 2 months. We came within 1 week, I am not kidding you, 1 week of losing our voucher when we finally found a lady who was willing to rent to us, but she didn't know what Section 8 was. And there was a lot of issues with that. She didn't know if it was a real program. She didn't trust it. The only reason why she said she rented to us was because I was in school, because I was trying to better myself. And so the entire time, that entire 2 months, we were calling landlords and they were saying really degrading things about people on Section 8, that were all drug addicts, that were vermin, that they would never rent to people like us, that were going to destroy their homes. And I was a straight A honor student. I was active volunteering in my community. We had references. My mom is a senior disabled. There was no anything illegal happening with us. And it was very clear that it was just discrimination against vouchers and against being on SSI. One landlord or one property management company, because people were saying, well, don't tell them up front that you're on Section 8. Let them see you first. Let them meet you first. So we did that. And the property management company in a home that for the voucher assistance, it was under the limits. We viewed the home. It was fine. As soon as we mentioned being on SSI and being on and having a voucher because he said he wanted employment records, as soon as we said that, oh, the landlord will not rent to someone who's not employed and he won't accept vouchers. That was it. It was over. There was no renting that unit. And I can say I have never experienced the level of discrimination against being disabled, against being on SSI, against vouchers as I have here in Santa Fe. And it can't be allowed to happen. It cannot be allowed to continue. And so for me, this is very personal. That isn't even all the details. That's just an overview of what we went through to try and get housing. I have since given up the voucher because of how hard it is. My mom got it. My mom has it. She moved back into low income tax credit housing for seniors to be protected from becoming homeless again. But now I am one person away from being on the streets. And so this is very, very sincerely personal and serious to me. And I really, really thank you for moving this forward and for presenting this to our community, because it is absolutely necessary. So thank you both, and Councilor Castro and Villarreal, thank you. Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Gish, for sharing that, and thank you, Councilor, for bringing this to our attention and advocating. I just want to a comment and then a question. The comment is, I think employment and housing are so essential to life. Once you have affordable housing, access to housing, I think lots of things like segregation, better schools, all these things flow from your housing situation. So in order to break those barriers and create greater access, it's just, these are some simple tools we can use and rights we can afford our community. My question is, and I don't have the resolution in front of me, but what are the enforcement mechanisms? So if there is discrimination, where can people go to seek some sort of enforcement or some mediation with these kinds of issues?
Director Ladd, I don't know if you have the answers. I have gone over this with the city attorney's office. I know it is actually similar to the process that we use for our living wage in the city of Santa Fe, that if there is a living wage violation, that the same process would apply for how that is addressed. I will need to get more of the specific details and process from the city attorney's office so that I can speak more eloquently to that. All I can say right now is I don't have the exact answer, so I don't want to give misinformation, but I will speak to the city attorney's office and make sure that I can get that information over to you, because you're right, that is one of the most important pieces, that if this occurs, what happens? Default, contact your city councilor. I mean, that's what I say is the default for everything. If you have a problem, to reach out to your city councilor, and then we can, of course, help navigate the city processes. But I will be sure to get that back to you. And Alex, I don't know if you have more information.
I really don't. The good news about putting it into the city code is now we have a basis on which to respond to a landlord who's doing that. The exact way that gets enforced is through the city's code, and there's a system in there. But as to the exact priority, that's kind of not the piece I usually work on. So I can't really answer that, but we will get a better answer before it goes for the final approval.
Yeah, and then just to reiterate how I was speaking about retaliation. So that's the other piece that we're going to start to look at, is that if there is proof of retaliation, it is on the books as a state law that you cannot retaliate. There doesn't seem to be an effective enforcement mechanism. We're currently watching a case that is unfolding up in Espanola regarding a landlord retaliating, I believe, against residents that were trying to organize. And so that's also going to be coming into play as we continue to work on this area. We decided to go ahead and split it in half because this part was ready. And it was like, okay, if we can at least get this part on the books as soon as possible, let's go ahead and do that. And then we're going to be diving into what happens in a retaliatory situation.
Thank you. Pam, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I'm the landlord. This is a difficult forum for me. My question is, having been a landlord for 40 years, just residential, not big apartments or anything like that. Many, many things have come up. And without inner mediation process, or I don't hear that there's any protection for landlords who can be retaliated against or can be accused of refusing to rent to someone solely based on Section 8 voucher. There are many reasons a landlord thinks their property is not appropriate for certain people. And I don't know what, if any, rights a landlord has. And if this is just my word against their word, they can accuse me of not renting to them because I say it, they say it's because of Section 8. But as a long time landlord, there are many things that I have to consider. My property, especially one, is not easily accessible, doesn't have bus access. It's in the process of being made into universal design $200,000 later. You know, there's a lot of financial implications if someone gets a rental and then they really find things in there that you can't afford to fix. It's hundreds of, I mean, thousands of dollars. And then they want to stay, you can't fix it. There's no money to cover all kinds of incidents, snow removal, gardening, everything. What is there for a landlord?
Yeah, you know, I would imagine, I would really refer over to the city attorney's office and to get more details. However, it would be similar to, you know, if somebody were to accuse you and say, you are not renting to me because of my race or my sexuality. There, you know, I am not a lawyer. My father is a real estate lawyer, so I'm putting on his hat a little bit. But I do know that when we start to look at, you know, documentation, or if these pieces do start to come up in terms of rejecting a applicant, I would have to double check in what that starts to look like. In general, what I have my understanding is that you need to be able to have a reason that this rental is not appropriate and it can't be source of income. So if you're coming and saying, I don't trust Section 8 vouchers, so I'm not going to rent, that's all we're saying. If you are coming in and saying, I can't afford to fix up my property in order to, you know, make it accessible for an individual, and that's why I'm not renting to them, this ordinance does not cover that. So that would have to be dictated by, I would imagine, state statute might come into play at that juncture, but that's not changing that aspect of this, or for any other reason that a property might not be appropriate for another individual. All that this changes is source of income. And so, you know, when you have the reasoning to say, this is why this property is not, why I'm not renting to this individual, and it's not source of income, then that's where we're looking there. But again, I would, you know, definitely want to check in with the city attorney's office if there's any additional information or thoughts there, or the landlord tenant hotline, or any of those components. In general, I know that for landlords and tenants, there's not a lot of good resources for either landlords or tenants in the state of New Mexico. And so this is another thing that we have been, Director Ladd and I have been in conversations with Chainbreaker and starting to look at how we might build a bit more of that infrastructure at the city. Still workshopping and researching in that arena. But so this is very helpful information actually for us as we continue to work on that. So thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that I did live in Seattle. We did have these kinds of income source discrimination policies there, and it really helped. It really encouraged landlords to find out about programs, and it also encouraged information to become available. One of the things that I know is happening here is that the Santa Fe Civic Housing Authority does not have a website. And so when you're trying to refer landlords to finding out about a program, they have to actually call and meet with people. And there's no available information to just say, you know, here it is online. And that was one of our barriers, was that people who were potentially open to it they had to actually go to the office, and that isn't, it's not as readily available as it should be. And so we can talk about that. I'm absolutely, this is my life. It really is important to me. And so I'm more than happy to reach out and share my experiences to fill those gaps of what is happening here. So, Gemini, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm trying to start my video. Hi, everyone. I'm Gemini Shell. I'm a disability specialist at the Governor's Commission on Disability. I just want to address the comments about landlords having to fix up an apartment or a space for someone who is renting and has a disability. The Fair Housing Act does not require that. The Fair Housing Act is very explicit that if somebody has a physical or other disability and they need physical modifications done to the house, the landlord is not responsible for that. The person who's renting is responsible to pay for that. The landlord is required to allow it to happen. So if a door needs to be widened so that someone with a wheelchair can get into a bathroom, the landlord has to allow that to happen, but the landlord does not pay for that. The person who is renting has to pay for it. So I just want to clarify, somebody who has a disability and needs access in that kind of way to a space should really be the one who's making sure that the space is accessible to them. It's not the landlord's responsibility to ensure that the space is accessible to a person with a disability. I just want to make a clarification about that, because some folks were talking about needing to fix up and invest in changes to the home, and that's not true. That's not how the Fair Housing Act works.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Daniel, go ahead.
Okay, and in addition to what she just mentioned, then in addition, the owner under Fair Housing Act could require that the individual open an account, an escrow account, to put monies in there to return the residence back to the way it was. And most cases, landlords don't do that because they benefit from the modifications, but that they could always require it be returned, and that's under Fair Housing Act. So that's a concern. Now, as far as that only applies to existing facilities, so a house that's already built prior to the requirements. And that's where building code comes into play. If we look at our building code and look at how we can require certain things to be in place in construction, even in residential housing, 7 elements of accessibility, doesn't require it to be accessible, but it reinforces the walls, things of that nature. If we start to look progressively into those kinds of things, then in the future, we would have a larger stock of existing housing being adaptable and less expensive to modify for individuals who need access. And also for owners who don't want to have to spend so much money. They don't have it and their building was built to code. It might be beneficial for them to have a higher code that's stronger to create that accessibility and adaptability. So that's something that we as a city can look at. And then of course, as a program, if you want to, we can make the law stricter if we want to, stricter than Fair Housing Act. If you want to participate in tax benefits of that nature, we can look at how we can require greater accessibility as a requirement. We did that in Texas, where we require houses that were going to participate in tax benefits to be accessible, adaptable, and that's what we did. I don't know if New Mexico has approached that, but that's an idea. So food for thought, but now let's see how we can do enforcement. And if anyone, if I'm willing to assist anyone with that, also be another voice in the crowd.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to that. I know Oregon had a fund for landlords that were, that were concerned about renting to Section 8, and I don't remember it ever being used. I mean, maybe very minimally, but they created an emergency fund if someone did damage the home. And literally do not remember it ever being used. I've not found anything yet. Maybe it is, but it's very, very rare. Most people on Section 8 are really desperate for those funds and that assistance and very much protecting our residences. So, and like,
Hi. So I think I do have a couple of concerns when it comes to this. I know several people that did have their property completely ruined, and I can see why there needs to be some steps in place to protect the property owners when this does happen, and like who restores their property when this happens. You know, same thing goes for people in domestic violence cases, like where they come in, they kick down doors, there's real damage to these properties, you know? So I think we need to protect both sides, and I in no way condone any type of you know, anything that's going to hinder someone. I know not everyone is like Kathleen, not everyone is going to come in and truly respect the property, you know? So in those cases, how do we protect the landowners?
Yeah, I guess my comment would be here that this is again making the assumption that the only people that are going to, or that would destroy your property is somebody that has a Section 8 voucher. That's kind of a wider conversation, because somebody could very well come in and destroy your property who is not utilizing a Section 8 voucher. So I think that you're right. That's a very important conversation. It's not necessarily covered here, as it is a wider net that we would want to be tossing there in terms of, what happens when people are not respecting property. And Director Latta, it looks like you have more to say here.
yeah, go ahead, Alexandra. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Counselor. Yeah, I just wanted to mention there are some ideas out there, some programs that are actually underway in New Mexico where the MFA has paired up a social services agency with some of their housing funding specifically to take care of that. So if a landlord agrees to take an assisted tenant that's coming through a program, so I think in this case it's the now I'm going to get it's a youth program, then there is funding set aside. If that person does damage to the property, the landlord is provided the resources to fix the damage. But the idea is that you agree to take that specific assisted tenant, and in turn you have some protections. So I guess I would put that out there, is that, and we're looking at it, we looked at the state's version, we want to look at it locally as well, because we think that we do have some mom and pop landlords, folks who aren't owning, don't own the big apartment complexes. We think we do have some of those landlords who would be willing, so long as their property is protected and their interests are also taken into account. So that's just something to put out there. Like I hear that. I used to be a landlord. I totally get it. And we want to make sure that we have incentives for people to participate as landlords in these programs.
Yeah, because I can see why that would hinder a lot of people from allowing their property to be used or to accept certain programs, because you might have a piece of property that was handed down or is owned by several family members and they all have to agree. But I could see how they would be afraid to do something like that. So that's why I was asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelique. Eli, and then we will go into the letter after this.
Actually, Chair Gish, if Pam, I think she had her hand up before me.
I just wanted to address Councilwoman Cassett and put in an extra incentive from landlords. The fear is what I think stops people from taking Section 8 vouchers or vouchers of any kind. It's that it's not the income source. That's a very reliable source. It's that many people are desperate, and when you say if they need a modification, they have to pay for it. Well, they're desperate, and how are they going to pay for the modification? what one step for me is experience in, okay, now I have to get a lawyer and spend big bucks to write somebody's idea of remodeling something. They're going to do it, or their brother or somebody, but it totally destroys the setting. It's inappropriate material or whatever, and I don't want it done in my house. So it gets into this conflict, and there's needs to be some way to settle it without having to pay for a lawyer. Mediation somehow between landlords and tenants. I would feel, I have run into Section 8 and people, and they're one step ahead up on one side of disaster. So if anything breaks down, then it all falls on the landlord, and it can be extremely expensive. So I'm just saying, I think you need mediation, and then you need to have incentives for landlords to feel that they can open their housing to people who really need it and will honor it and take care of it.
Well, thank you for that feedback. As I mentioned, yeah, we're continuing to work on some of these pieces at the city, and obviously Alexandra's involved at the has some knowledge of what's happening at the state. So I do appreciate that feedback as we continue to work on these areas.
Thank you. Eli, go ahead. And then we need to go into the letter, please.
Yeah, housing is so complicated, especially in Santa Fe. So we're looking at what little pieces of the puzzle can we put together to help support everyone, renters, landlords, commercial occupiers, businesses, all of that. I wanted to throw out an idea. There is the RAMP program here in New Mexico that does home modifications, but there's an income requirement. And I wonder if there's a way to somehow modify that program in order to allow for a homeowner who is utilizing Section 8 renters to not have that income requirement, or somehow have flexibility, that income requirement, allow for them to do those paid for modifications if they're renting to somebody who's utilizing Section 8. Just a wild idea, but it seems like this RAMP program could be a way of allowing for homeowners who wouldn't already usually qualify for a modification program, free of charge modification program, to qualify if they're utilizing or if they're renting to people on Section 8. Just an idea out there. And Gemini, I don't know, but just an idea. Thanks.
And to add to that, what Eli just said, the private landlord that rented to us, we did all the minor repairs ourselves. She did not have to hire anyone. Anything we could do, we did. And we took the cost of the supplies off the rent. Those were of course minor repairs. And then the other thing was that we qualified for the PNM program for weatherization, and she got a furnace, water heater, all of that for like cost. And so it was $6,000 worth of modifications and to upgrade. We had a 20-year-old water heater before then that went, so it was very much needing to be replaced. But there are programs out there that do support landlords to rent to tenants that are low income. And so that I know Gemini, I know you can speak more to what Eli said, so I'm going to let you do that, and then we really sincerely need to get to the letter. So
I'm so sorry. I do need to jump right
That's
now
okay.
for a tight schedule, but Director Ladd, I will touch base with you. And Chair Gish, I can touch base with you as well for any additional feedback. But thank you all so much. Really,
Yeah,
really.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Gemini.
So yeah, I'll just address what Eli was suggesting. There's actually already a provision that's part of the statutory, I think, and I might be speaking a little bit off in terms of the language, but the statutory creation of this program requires that we take into consideration renters as well. If we get renters needing a ramp, they just need to get approval from their landlord to get it installed. So we take the renter's income as opposed to the landlord's income into consideration. So that's actually already something that's available to a situation like this. It's looked at in a little bit different way. We do prefer to do ramps and bathroom modifications for the actual homeowner, but we will also do one for a renter. It's just it's how the program is actually set up. So it's already in place.
Thank you, Gemini. Yeah, and I know we as a committee can also reach out and find out more of what's available for people with disabilities, because this, income source is not just disabled people, but it predominantly affects us. And I can say that it is pretty much all of us will be affected by this. And so I think for, programs that will help support landlords, programs that will, that can be modified, like I mentioned, the Santa Fe Civic Housing Authority needing, a website and things like that. Those are all things that would help to support all of these changes to be made. So I know we can definitely look at that as people who are affected by this. And what is it that would have benefited us, or what would have been helpful to us to have to hand a landlord? What information could we have said, here's about the Section 8 program, or Housing Choice Voucher Program, or whatever it is. So anyway, the letter, I need to go to the letter. So 7I, and people are texting me. 1 second.
Actually,
Um,
Dan was talking about that in the commission meeting the other day, all about the RAMP program and the monies that are being allocated to all of that. Another thing is, let's not forget that we have waivers, and those waivers can be used to make home modifications or whatever it is that the individual with disabilities needs. So let's remember that.
Yeah. Thank you, Angelique. So this letter, I don't know if you've had a chance to read it. I hope that you have. I think that, like I said, when I was writing it, it's been a really rough week. And so, I was trying to get at the point of, and I don't know that I said it as clearly as I wanted to, but that being disabled means that you get government benefits. Like, that is just, whether it's Medicaid, whether it's, housing, whether it's SSI or SSDI, the majority of us will be getting some kind of a government benefit. And so there is, and of course there are working disabled people, but I'm saying, a lot of us who are, at some point in our lives, we will have that. But that it's tied, so we can't, say, oh, well, we'll just go get a job to appease the landlord, and be able to rent in the community. That's not really an option for most of us. But I would really appreciate thoughts and ideas. I know, Eli, maybe you have some ideas of how to bring this together, because I know that it's a draft, and I was working on that, but the time just happened and I just wrote what I could. I don't know that it really addresses bias that is occurring in renting. But Eli, if you want to give your thoughts.
No, I think it's a good letter. It's right on track. This is Eli here. I think probably taking a look at the latest version of the proposal would probably be helpful to reformat it just slightly. And then Chair Gish, maybe we could vote on it and then, have as we've done in the past, signed off on it and sent it up because it is so important. But I do think that there are lots of, I think in some of the letters that we've done in the past, it's a little bit more straightforward. Housing is so complex. So I would really encourage everyone to have the opportunity to weigh in on the letter.
Yeah, thank you. Daniel, go ahead.
Being that you're pressed for time and you need a letter to be approved in some fashion, let's, I guess someone can have a motion to approve that you draft a letter of support of the ordinance in a general sense, and that we leave the language of that support to those who are going to put together that letter, but that in essence that the committee has approved to support the ordinance. Something like
I
that.
so move.
We could do it as the chairs if you want, me, Eli and Kendra.
Yeah.
If anyone has anything to add, please, we can email it to me and we can include those comments in the next packet so that they're on record of who said what and who contributed what. Would that work? Okay. So, may we have a motion then to approve a letter of support for, this ordinance, for the amendments of this ordinance, and,
And the subsequent letter to be drawn up by the
Yes,
chair,
yes.
vice chair,
by the
and
chair, by the co-chairs, yes, the three co-chairs.
I so move
Thank you.
and definitely support.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
This is Kendra.
Thank you, Kendra. Okay,
Yeah.
let me go ahead and call for a vote, right? Madam Chair?
Yes,
Okay. Chair Gish,
yes.
Eli Frescas,
Yes.
Kendra Garcia,
Yes.
Angelique Chavez. She may not be here, but okay, Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Gina Maria,
Yes.
and Miriam. Okay, we got a vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I will make sure that everyone gets to see that letter before we send it out so that you, if your contributions are in there, you will see that they are in there. And
Thank
thank you.
you.
Everyone. Yeah, thank you, Alexandra Ladd. I appreciate all of this.
Yeah.
So next, I know Councilor Garcia had to leave, and that's fine. I lost my screen, so that's what I'm like kind of floundering now. It like randomly disappears. So it's very strange. It just like literally went away. So next was 7J. So actually, Phil, do you want to do your presentation now or do you want to do it in the next meeting? Because we can do either.
Hi, I think if it's okay with Madam Chair, perhaps I could just introduce myself since
Yeah.
I've been on 2 calls already, and
I know.
then I'm in bed with pneumonia right now.
Oh,
So if I could do a brief introduction, myself, my wife, and then we can address or have a discussion at a future meeting, I think that would be great.
Yeah, please introduce yourselves and then yeah, we do that. Thank you.
Sure. Sure. My name is Philip McGowannick. I'm in Stamford, Connecticut, a little far away. I am 57 years old. I'm blind, secondary to retinitis pigmentosa. I'm retired from a career in public safety. I currently serve as the chair of the City of Stamford's ADA Advisory Council. Stamford is the second largest city in municipality in Connecticut and the fastest growing, population about 140,000, very affluent, 45 minutes from New York City. Within 7 miles of our home lives our governor, our US senator, our US congressman, and our attorney general. So we're in a pretty influential area. However, we still struggle with the same issues with respect to accessibility, barriers being physical or not. In addition to serving as that chair, I am the chair of the State of Connecticut State Rehabilitation Council for Services for the Blind. I'm a councilman for the State of Connecticut Public Transportation Council, and I serve on 3 additional municipal committees and councils. I'm also a certified ADA coordinator through the ADA Connected Coalition, which is part of the regional ADA center under the national ADA organization. I've been doing this for 12 years. I was formerly leadership in a national disability organization, which no longer am part of. And my wife and I are both full-time ADA advocates for the blind and disabled. I was intrigued to meet Kathy online, my wife and we've spoken several times. I've invited her to one of our local meetings, which all of you are invited to attend. I'll make sure invitations go out to see how we're doing it here and how we are struggling with the same issues. However, just briefly, I believe that the committee is set up to be the ADA Advisory Council because we're here to serve as community stakeholders to assist our municipality in becoming and maintaining ADA compliance. It's really that's really what it's about. The city, not unlike most municipalities, really does not provide disability-related services. Those are typically on the state level. We do have listening to your conversation before, we do have a Fair Housing Commission with a renter, landlord renter handbook, which is pretty comprehensive. They do have a Fair Housing Commissioner, which deals with a lot of these issues going back and forth with the housing. That's a big issue here, as well as transportation. And serving on the State Public Transportation Council has given me a little bit more influence on those issues. But I know Kathy wanted me to address quite a few bullet points, which we could do next month. But again, just briefly, we're here to help our sister city down in New Mexico. I think as a partnership, working together, and we're connected with people all over the country and all over the world, frankly, in this space. And we're the go-to people, in our municipality. And still that, I encourage all of you to keep up the fight. It is a fight at times. Sometimes, not just day to day or week to week, but sometimes moment to moment with respect to disabilities. And I always promote everyone, stick up their chin, and it is indeed respectable to be disabled. And anything other than that should not be tolerated. The ADA has been around for 34 years, Rehabilitation Act for 50 years, and the Architectural Barriers Act from the late 60s. So a lot of people now are saying, wow, why do we need to do all these things? Why do you have to change this? Why does this need to be accessible? Why does the website have to be good? Why do we have to understand social media accessibility wise? Well, it's not that these weren't required 50 years ago. It's just that technology has caught up to a lot of these things. And I was impressed to hear a lot of your members talk about the web accessibility. We're struggling in Stanford. We have a brand new website, and I can't access my page. But we do have, I'll leave it with, working with the municipal government is the key to it. We come in and my wife will kick me under the table at most meetings when I say that I'm a nobody. I'm not elected. I'm not an employee of the city. I'm given my authority by the mayor, who's been our mayor for 2 years. Our previous mayor for 8 years, who allowed us to stand up the committee, did nothing but allow us to use this conference room. Didn't attend meetings, never met a chief of staff, could not get meetings with department heads. And that flipped upside down 2 years ago when our new mayor had been our state representative, who reached out to us for some initiatives and ideas for accessibility and to help people within the state of Connecticut. And when she became mayor, we became part of her transition team. And staying in that building and having, the leisure to go in and out of the building when we want to go, contact who we want to, whenever we want to, with her saying, hey, if you can't get a meeting or you need help, come to me. And unfortunately, we have months where we're rolling along, and then we have times when, like this past month, we're struggling to get things moving. And, we had 4 volunteer people at the table, 3 disabled, 1 representing a daughter with a disability. And I had to emphasize that I'm here not for me, but for the people that come behind us, the people that inherently become disabled when they're aging out a little bit. And it's hard to have them fathom that it's not only the right thing to do, but it's the law. And when you start talking about, as you did, I think, Daniel, having the DOJ come down, or having the State Human Rights Commission come down, or disability rights of the state come down, those are very serious implications. And I don't think most municipalities understand the seriousness of having them come down and not just looking at web accessibility. We're going to take a look at your signage in the building. Are your restrooms accessible? Are you having meetings in public spaces which are accessible? You know, it's a big can of worms, and we experience discrimination on a daily basis as blind people. And it's people like you who keep the fight up. And, you know, I've heard something interesting. You keep showing up until they know your name. And you keep out the pounding and pounding and pounding. And when you work in solidarity with other people who get it, and again, another last thing quickly, I'm gonna roll before I stop breathing. What we did, which was really helpful at our meetings, to have city executives and professionals and administrators who understand what's going on, bringing in outside guest speakers. We brought in someone who is a contractor for the state, who is working on their website to make it accessible. They heard it from an expert. We have inaccessible pedestrian crossing signals, which are still being put up today. And we brought in an expert, and they're like, oh, wow. So maybe they need to hear it, the government needs to hear it from an outside source. But you know, our committee is independent. We don't work for anybody. I'm working at the leisure and appointed by the mayor. I submit my agenda to the town clerk and the members and to the board of representatives. That's our local government each month. And it's an open meeting, and I let everyone speak. And having that transparency and communications, and when people understand why we're doing what we're doing and how it not just helps us, but helps the community in general, I think is a big part of why we keep fighting. And I'll let my wife Honorata chime in. I'm sorry for taking so much of your time, but I look forward to going over some particular details at a future date.
Thank you, Phil, and feel better soon.
Thank you. I'm gonna go a drink.
Hi, so my name is Honorata Kazmierczak. I, like Phil, I'm a resident in the same area. Apparently, we live together. We got married last year. I moved from a small suburban town that didn't have public transportation. And it was just very limiting in terms of, in general access. And there were just much bigger barriers that I was able to put up with. Together with Phil, we, in addition to what Phil mentioned, work on access to public library. We work with other nonprofits on providing accessible public spaces and parks and recreation, as well as events. And we try to do some outreach to restaurant owners and other businesses. So it's been a very much full-time job. And what keeps us going is the notion that there's a lot of people that are unaware of the ADA, they're unaware of their civil rights, and eliminating those barriers on their behalf is going to promote their independence and inclusion in society. So that's kind of what we do. And I almost forgot, I have been an art teacher for 17 years, 20, and I did not realize that I was working as a legally blind art teacher, and through half of my career colorblind. And I did manage. I found a way to figure things out. And through that, I also had contact with quite a large number of students with disabilities. I had 56 on my caseload the last year of my teaching. So that provided me a lot of beneficial information to what I'm doing right now, a greater understanding. And like Phil, I'm also an ADA coordinator, public disability advocate, and we work with municipal, local, and state officials to try to promote disability access and justice.
I've been to Congress 3 times.
Yes. Back to Phil.
Yeah, Congress 3 times, the state capitol quite often. And as you can tell, it takes all types of people and personalities to be advocates. We're totally opposite. It's good cop, bad cop. I want to kick in the door and rip down signs and rip off traffic signals. And my wife is like, well, we have to educate them. but both views are needed. So I was very humbled to hear all of you speak about how you're navigating through the accessibility and the ADA compliance. And again, you're not alone. We hope we can partner with you. And we have a friend who is a leader in Nashville for the same kind of committee. And anything we could do to assist or provide resources or examples of what we're doing here, you know, we're gung ho to help out.
Yes, willing and looking forward to learning from you as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you both, Phil and Honorata, and I've known them for several years, just online and watching the work that they're doing and watching it grow, and so, you know, reaching out to them has been very helpful to me, and, you know, they are now reaching out to me, learning from me, so we're just, you know, really learning from each other, and this is national, so this is,
Yeah.
you know, and we're wanting to make it grow. So Gina Maria, go ahead.
Yes, I just have a question. Are you in Stamford or in Stafford? I know they're on the opposite.
Sure. Sure.
Stamford, Connecticut.
With an
We're-
M.
With the M. 20 minute. We're 20 minutes.
New York City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, 20 minutes to the border.
Yeah.
At Brent. Thank you.
Yeah. Lower Fairfield County.
Thank you both, and we have like 7 minutes left, so
We will be on camera next time. I understand
Yeah.
it was a difficult.
yeah, thank you so much.
Um,
Eli, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Gish. Super quick. When I was at the New York City Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities, MOPD, we did work on doing a summit for similarly situated MOPDs across the country. We mostly were able to hit on the East Coast MOPDs, but I think this is a good opportunity to create like a Mayor's Office of
Absolutely.
People with Disabilities, something similar to like that
An
network.
association. Yeah. Association
yeah, so
or
like-
loosely.
Powers in
Yeah.
numbers.
We're thinking about that. We talked to that. Spoke about that with, I can't speak English today. Discussed that with Kathy. And I think, you know, knowing people in a lot of the states and our prior affiliations with the national organization, we have some reach. And I think if we get together, and we thought about doing that, maybe there's some, even a Zoom call to get it started and get people interested in learning how to advocate. And, you know, there is a Facebook group, but it seems like Honorata and I are the only one giving guidance in that group. So I think we might start our own and maybe do it like that. Not that we need another thing to do, but I think it's important.
Thank you both, and then Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, then everyone can create a national standard of what priorities are and then how to operate. I mean, you guys can come together on that. That would be something to think about, and also benchmarks for everyone to agree to. You know, those are things that you can really work together as a group.
Absolutely.
And it's becoming a more professional approach to how would you say, assisting governments in compliance.
Absolutely. They realized when I first started in 2013, I became an advocate by mistake because they didn't have an ADA coordinator in the city. And it grew to where now I know more than anyone in that building, except for my wife, probably. And I said that in a meeting last week. I'm like, so I think they're afraid of us because they see a lot of, I say the, meaning government often sees there's ADA solutions as cost items.
Mhm.
But the problem is, since the ADA was enacted in the Rehab Act, frankly, they're building things, whether physical or non-physical, they're building these barriers into the system that need to be corrected. So the reason things are being done over again is because they did it wrong the first time and didn't pay attention to the law. And we're trying to bake that in, and that's one big accomplishment I think we have is that our last meeting, you know, or prior meeting reported that new processes are in place. So if someone's going to put in a sidewalk or a pathway to a tennis court, you know, one was just built $50,000, totally inaccessible. They have to rip it up and do it again. And we're like, it had to go through 7 layers of people. Someone had to request it, someone had to plan it, someone had to part it out, someone had to engineer it, someone had to design it, someone had to hire a contractor, someone had to do the final inspection, and it wasn't accessible. And they have to repeat their work all over again. And it's still happening today. So I think a big part is getting risk management involved. We've been having a hard time doing that in Stanford. They don't understand that that's a risk. You know, when you're not following the law, you risk lawsuits. And there have been some big lawsuits, ADA related in the city and DOJ complaints. So yeah, we'd love to, you know, consider you guys a sister city and keep the communications going and try to blow this up and really be the standard.
Strengthen numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, no, the reason I reached out to them is because of how knowledgeable they are, how active they are, doing way more than I could.
Well,
And I'm doing
we're
what I
not giving
can.
up.
Yeah, I know, doing way more than I can, but you know, as far as doing it right, like in a way that of learning, you know,
Correct.
how to navigate systems and how to create effective systems change. And so I really appreciate both of you, and I look forward to our future meetings, discussions, whatever it is that we
Sure.
that we will plan to do. And I know Eli, I know I can tell you're interested too.
Yeah, we have to get on a call. We'll get on
Yeah.
a call. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's doing it in a way where it's like sales. We're selling this really.
yeah,
And it's great, doing what needs to be done in the right way to draw people to their own conclusion that this is the right thing to do. Not because it's a law, but it's the right thing to do. We want to be accessible to everyone in the community. Stanford had this slogan for 25 years. We were called the city that works. And I kept saying, no, we need to be the city that works for everybody, regardless of ability. And that's been our kind of throwing it upside down. But again, thank you for letting me talk. It's the most I've spoken in a while. So
yeah.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Feel better soon.
Thank you.
So we are almost out of time, of course. It seems like it always happens that way.
Can I motion to extend the meeting, please?
If Vicky and Daniel have the time, that would be fine with me. We can extend it, I think 20 more minutes. Is that okay?
I'm fine. Vicky, are you able to?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
still be here.
Thank you so much, both of you. I appreciate that greatly. So next is approval of the cart. I was going to talk about the policy. I just wanted to mention, and I meant to do screen share, but it all went away and I have no idea where it went. I wanted to mention the city rules and procedures for city committees. There was a discussion because there was some confusion about what rules we are under as a citizen advisory committee. And it had been, I had received multiple different documents and had it be discussed that, some said we were under governing body rules, some said we were under city committee rules or council committee rules. Anyway, we are under the rules for citizen advisory committees, which is in the packet, which is, and I printed it in case I knew my screen might go away with all of the shifting, but one second. I don't know where it is. I don't see that I printed it. But it's the city committee rules and procedures for the city of Santa Fe. And one thing is that document, as far as I can tell, is not in OCR format. And I requested that, but I have not received that. And that document, because it is the one that applies to our citizen advisory committee meetings, as well as all citizen advisory committees, needs to be relinked to the city clerk's website and made accessible for all of us to be able to refer to it. And so something happened when the website got updated where it like dropped off. And so I don't know what happened with that. I'm not the web designer. So, but that is my request to make it be accessible for all committees. And I'm going to be working on proposing to the city to make a web page for citizen advisory committees that lists all of our committees on there, as well as the rules and procedures that we are under, so that it's all in one place and can be found easily, because right now it's not attached or only partially attached, or you have to know where to find it because it's all just scattered and you really have to Google search it. You can't just go to the website and find information for citizen advisory committees. And so that's the next meeting, though. I will organize all that out by the next meeting. So then the next item is approval of the CART transcript that Aurora so amazingly edits for us for clarity. And so I would like to move to approve the CART transcript as edited by Aurora, and a little bit by myself. I just add that our edits are in red. Can maybe have that move to approve the CART transcript.
I move to approve as edited.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you.
Hey, now, Chair Gish,
Yes.
Jose, Eli,
Yes,
and
C.
Kendra. Kendra's gone.
She
Okay.
left, yeah.
Okay. Angelique Chavez.
Yes.
Okay. Pam Parfit,
Yes.
Gina Maria,
Yes.
and Miriam.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you both. I mean, thank you all. And then next is the city website, but Eli, I'm thinking to postpone that because we mostly discussed a lot of what was planning to be discussed, but I just would like everyone to review for the next meeting Eli's the printout that Eli has because that is part of this new ADA, component for web access under WCAG 2.1 AA. That is part of it. And we have been planning for that, like for a long time. So we knew that this was coming. And so that is part of it. There is another component though, Eli, if you want to just mention really quick. If you want to, you don't have to.
Which component?
The one about, well, I guess Daniel, you're going to get to that, aren't you?
Yeah,
About
the accessibility.
accessibility. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to the accessibility thing. We were just talking about the accessibility. Yeah. So I'll get to that. And then review of the Mayor's Committee on Disability Priorities by the next meeting. Please review all of that. There are some items that are unclear. And so I wanted to have it be completely clear. And we'll have to hold a vote in the next meeting. There has been some feedback, which I can share with all of you, about suggestions for edits and things like that. And so we'll work on that and make it be a final draft by the next meeting. But at least it's finally organized. That was how I organized it, was by the fiscal year report, which I think actually really makes sense because it's how the city is organized for that fiscal year. I wish that I had the upcoming one. I couldn't find that one. I don't know if it exists yet. Daniel, do you know?
They're going to be voting on the budget on the 8th, so it'll be after that.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Yeah, we can go by, and if anything changes, we can just note that it changed.
Okay.
And usually it's pretty rare for things to drastically change, though. It's happened a couple times, but it's usually pretty rare. And then wish that I had my screen. And then the last item is Disability Pride Months. I don't know if Eli or Angelique want to give a really quick update.
I can give a quick update. Angelique, feel free. July 13th is our planned parade. We're still working on some of the details of that, but roughly we'll be meeting at the cathedral in the morning, and we'll be marching towards the plaza, once around the plaza, and then ending at City Hall for the raising of the Disability Pride flag. And then we'll have the second annual Accessibility Awards in commemoration of the American Disabilities Act, and that'll be on July 27th at the Drury Hotel.
Thank you. And then Angelique, you and me need to still get together to do the library displays. And work on that, because that was really important for us. I know we last year we were so excited to see something. I was excited to see something, but then I was just like thinking like really the disabled community should be part of that. So Daniel, go ahead.
Yes, and with that being said, now that we know the dates and things of that nature, I know that the city can put out announcements of it. So if you want that, you gotta let me know so we can fill out the forms associated with that to get that to the city clerk's office so they can publish it.
Yeah, Eli, were we gonna make I think we're gonna make flyers by next week. Is that what we were planning to do, or do you remember?
Yeah,
Or-
we're planning on doing some outreach very, very soon. So more to come.
Yeah, so yeah, send me something that you would like to put together and then we can work on it with the graphics people there.
I
Sounds great.
think
Thank you,
the
Dan.
information for the parade would be a great idea. I think it's important to keep the awards to a very limited number just because it is by invitation only. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then we could probably make publish after the awards what occurred and as newsworthy. But for the parade, we can do an announcement to invite people to come and participate.
I know that
So-
in the last year before it was announced in the paper who was the awardees. So that was like, and then they highlighted what the event is about.
Mhm.
So that might be, I mean, it's a way to celebrate the people that the businesses and people that were chosen and why they were chosen for,
There you go.
what they contribute to our community. So I think that we can plan for that, and that's months away. So I
Okay.
think we're still okay.
But
Pam, go
still,
ahead.
we would like to have the staff have it early enough to work
Yeah.
on it.
Absolutely, yeah. Pam?
Oh, I have a question. What time is the parade? Eli, you announced it, but maybe it hasn't been decided.
So Pam,
time-
people will start setting up on the parade as early as 7 o'clock on the actual plaza. The parade will start walking at 9 o'clock a.m.
Okay, thank you.
We hope to be at City Hall about 10:15 for the flag raising and proclamation.
Thank you.
And
I
that reminds me
haven't-
of proclamation. Get me a copy of a proclamation.
Do you know if they want to do the same proclamation, or because we could write a new one as the entire
No.
committee, because last year it was like less than a day notice.
So
So
send me what you had last year. I'll work on it and I'll send it back and forth. Okay?
okay, all right. And I would like people to be able to give input. Eli, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and we can make sure it's an accessible document. In the
Yeah.
past, they haven't been, just
Yeah.
saying.
Thank you, Eli. Okay, so next is matters. We're gonna go to matters from staff.
Oh, okay. All right, so I wanted to talk about, let me go, where was my item? Okay, before I go to accessibility, I wanted to talk about what we've been doing with the transition plan and what the city has assisted with that. What we've received, the city has been very helpful in getting the software I need so I can go and assess the building so we can document those things that are there. And that was a pretty expensive software. We were able to negotiate the price down to $9,000 a year. And the reason why it's an important software is because it allows us to modify the transition plan as a living document. As things change, things are improved, or another building is acquired, we can assess it and add it to the inventory. In addition to that, they bought a tablet for the use to gather that information on an iPad. And so they've invested money for that purpose. And so let me give you a sample let me share my screen and let me see if I don't know if I know how to do this. Let me go in here and go into, let's see if I can, there we go. I want to show you an example. It's a draft of what the report might look like. Well, I'm going to tweak it a little down the road, but basically, can everyone see this?
No, you have to share it.
I thought I did.
Do you have share capacity?
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
go
sure.
in.
The green button, share.
I'm looking for Zoom. Okay, there it is. Let me go there and let me go to, where is it?
On the bottom, in the middle, green
Okay,
button.
share. There it is. Okay, now can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. And basically let me see if I can get into where I'm at. Okay, hang on, let me get in there. Okay. This is hard for me to do. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, there we go. So what I'm showing is we show a picture of the site, we identify the barriers. We even have right here, you can tell we have longitude and latitude, like those kinds of things. Let me see if I can identify like here I said, I'm going to labeling each item, like here is exterior 1. That would be a curb ramp. So this is the first item that I identified as having an issue. And in there, I'll say that the slope was 10.3. Now the numbers and the costs, we're probably not going to have that in there because it's not necessary. That's going to be for the public to see until a final item is developed. Then we provide our recommendation, we can put a recommendation, we can establish a priority, we can say which department it comes under, we can identify the date that it's going to be repaired. If it's going to be in the future, we can give our best guess as to when that will happen. And then it'll allow us to group them if once we have a bunch of buildings together and identify groups that could be put on a calendar. And see, as you can see, we have photos, will show exactly the slope or barrier. And so I'm going to go down kind of quick because it's the same. Now, let's see, like here's the bus stop that I identified in front of City Hall. Well, hang on, let me go to it. Let's see. The bus stop shelter, I said it wasn't accessible. And I identified why, because this seating area wasn't available right here. This bench is kind of in the way. So I'm recommending that this bench be removed. That would be a recommendation that I'll put in the report. That would be a quick fix. I put down my tape measure so that people can see what I saw. And that way it's transparent to the public that's impacted by this. And since it's not going to cost, that much money to remove a bench. It's probably not going to cost much. We could do it internally. And so it gives you an idea of where it is so people can see it. The other report that was developed in the past didn't have a lot of pictures that the public could look at where it was. And we're going to have, and this is just the external part. Now, internally, we will show like the button doesn't work. I identified that it didn't work. Here I showed the signage doesn't comply with the requirement and why. We cite the section of the requirements under ADA and why it doesn't meet it and where it's located. So that way people know. And we'll have a floor plan attached to it. So when you see F1, you'll see the floor plan, first floor, number 1 item, and then so forth and so forth. So you can track where that item is. I'll have an area where you'll see that item, and then you'll see the picture with the report, so you can go back and forth and see that. That'll help people to know when it's fixed. And that'll be a good thing to have. And then I showed various things like this. What did I say here? Oh yeah, okay. I said this is a cane detection concern because it's greater than 4 inches. And I'd say how much of a barrier it is. I put that down. And that's as an example of what I've identified. Like I identified that the railing, all right here, exceeds the requirement in width. So when someone grabs the railing, they really can't grab it because it's too wide for their as per the requirements, so that someone can hold it and stop themselves from rolling faster than they wanted to. And so that becomes a safety concern. So that's where we're going to have to recommend that they remove that railing or modify it to be more accessible like this. See and then also have this component so they can grab it if they were losing control of their transition down the ramp. So that way they can have something safe to grab. And that's what I'm providing, that kind of input. A little more clarity. See, and I see here, I said, see this distance, it doesn't meet this requirement of 12 inches minimum, plus the loop system so that someone can grab it before they continue towards danger. And that's what I'm kind of putting. This is just an example. So like I said, this is a rough draft. Still working on the details and see what I talked about, the width of it and not meeting the requirement and being able to grab it. That's a concern.
Yep.
And so that's what we need to do to fix it. And of course, you know, I mentioned in council chambers, you know, elevations, well, I say that this is no cane detection under here. So someone walking up to them and they're blind, they're gonna get hit in the gut with this thing because they couldn't see it with their cane. Because see, they're the 27 inches, this is higher than 27 inches, so their cane won't detect this hazard as they approach the podium. So we gotta look at the podium and recommend a more accessible podium for council. And and as I showed you, I put down my measurements so people can see the actual measurements. So it helps people to see, oh, okay, it is accurate. Of course, access to the dais is not there. It's an elevation. It's in according to ADA, it's required that if you have an elevation, there needs to be an accessible area to gain access to that level. And there isn't throughout the die. See, there's one here, there wasn't one there, and there's on the other side. So all 3 points, and then in the back over here, there from the stairs, there is no access. So if you're in a wheelchair and you happen to be a council member, you're not going to be able to get accessibility there. So that's one of the recommendations to modify that. But underneath the die, there it is accessible for a wheelchair to go underneath there. So that's kind of a good thing, but
One of the
overall,
issues with the city hall though is when you get wheelchair access going down, the way that you have to turn,
Yep.
you can hit the podium. And
yeah,
I've
that's why I want to
yeah.
remove it and bring it down
Yeah.
to center. And
So
see
it's
right
not,
here,
so like it is, but it isn't, because you know, like you can access it, but you most often are going to hit the podium. So,
yeah, and that's why that's just a hazard. And so removing it, relocating it to a more central location, like down the center. But in addition, like here we have stairs. On the other side, we have stairs, but there's no handrail, and that's required. Someone with mobility impairment or balance issues can fall. See, there needs to be a railing on the side.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm recommending, that kind of thing. Those are the basics that need to be in
so
place.
the one question I have, and then we need to, because it's like it's almost
Okay,
time.
let me go back to
yeah.
where I was.
One question that I have though, because you were saying that we would be able to access this in real time on the website eventually.
Yeah, because I could post the
So
report and people
yeah,
can see it.
cool. So so I was thinking of that, of like how we can set that up on the website, and I know we're gonna have to work together on that to make sure that we can access it and use it. Because then that would allow us to, you know, say if a constituent comes to us and says, you know, they had an experience at a building or leading to a building, we can pull that report and say, you know, was this mentioned in this report, or is this something to add, or, you know, is this something to add to something that's existing, you know? So that's what I was wondering, like, because you were saying that it's going to be a lot easier to do real-time updating.
Yeah, like
Um,
if let's say you call me and tell me, well, the report doesn't identify this barrier. Well, then I can go into the report at my desk, fix it, and then republish a corrected version. And that's what would have to happen. I would have, because it wouldn't be able to be modified by anyone in the public,
mhm.
but I could modify it and republish it with that new item that was identified.
Okay, yeah,
That we missed. And then, before I would publish it as such, I would want to go and confirm that that is in fact a barrier. Maybe it wasn't, maybe there was a misunderstanding of what's required.
Right.
So that's what we would do. We would verify a compliance concern.
right, yeah. Gina
And
Maria,
then,
sorry, Gina Maria has her hand raised.
Am I unmuted?
No, not anymore.
not anymore.
So Daniel, on the podium, is that that protrusion? Is that something that can be folded down?
It probably could, but let's say it's sticking out and someone blind wants to come and give public comment, they're gonna hit that protruding item before they can detect it with their cane. So that's why
Okay.
I would recommend revisiting the podium altogether and making it more accessible for all various types of disabilities. So that way we have one type.
Right.
it
And
works.
was there something last year? I remember at the award ceremony that we were trying to get a lower podium. Remember, Regina was gonna have it built?
Oh, I don't know.
I
That was
don't
before my time.
Here yet, that was pre-Daniel, it was right before.
You're right, Gina Maria. We were promised an accessible podium, something that we could use not only in City Hall, but if we had events outside of. So is there any way you could check on that for us, Daniel? I would appreciate that. I think,
Sure.
yeah, I think they were gonna actually build it. Maybe it's built in somewhere in storage or something.
I don't know. I mean, I'd be interested to see what they're thinking they're going to build. I mean, I had a feeling they probably were genuinely interested in doing that, but it probably when they approached it, they didn't know how to do it. I
Maybe
would
they
probably,
need someone
I would,
to design
I would,
it, like
I
you.
would argue there's probably a podium out there that can be purchased more so than one that could be built. So I would, before build one, I would look out and see what's available and what could be purchased first, because it might be a better type of podium with the right microphone, the right speakers, with everything that needs to be part of a podium. And so I'd rather look at that before building something out of wood and discovering we didn't do it quite well and it doesn't look that nice. We want something of quality. We don't want to spend, $5,000 on something that doesn't look so good, and rather spend $1,000 that is accessible and looks nice. So
So,
let's.
excuse me, Eli, what is the date for the award ceremony? July 4th,
This is Eli here, July 27th
27th.
at the Drury Hotel.
Right. So, Daniel, can you please have that done by July 27th?
Probably not. But
Well,
I will attempt to see what we can do.
okay.
But the Drury Hotel should have one, because they're the ones that we're renting the facility from, so it would behoove them to have those kinds of items in their inventory to avail to the public, to be accessible. That's what I would recommend. I mean, it's like, that's what they need to do too. We can make one available for our purposes as government, but portability, that becomes something. So yeah, I mean, so I can't promise that will happen this time around.
So we searched everywhere last year from the Roundhouse
Oh
to,
yeah,
there was not one to be found in this state.
that's right.
So I think you're right, Gina Maria, we should carry the torch. We should start something, see what we can find. Maybe we as a nonprofit try to purchase one and we make it available for all events in this state. I don't know. It's something we need to look into, but it's something that is greatly needed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thank you.
Also looked to see if there was anything we could buy, and we were not able to find anything that really, okay, there's definitely a gap in the market. Let's make it, people.
I agree. I very much agree.
Chair
So,
Gish,
yeah, go ahead.
it's a little bit late, but I just want to make this comment for ADA Manager Lopez to please not use the same engineer who created the
Oh.
water fountain at the main library.
Oh God, yeah. Hey, well, that would be funny.
Can we get the blueprints, like, or the plans for that? I honestly genuinely want to see those.
This is Eli here. We're just making a joke about a water fountain at main library, which isn't a joke actually, because it's inaccessible and it's something that just
To look
reminds
at.
us of the work we need to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can't wait to put it in the report.
Yeah. Please
It's
find the original, if
inaccessible.
you can find the original draft for that, I really genuinely want to see it. Like, was it written that way or did it end up that way without being like, how did that happen?
I bet you there's no drawings. I bet you someone just went in and installed it and went home.
You ever seen a Picasso painting?
Oh, yes, many, many, many.
My dad was like 6'5", and there's no way he could have reached to dream of that thing.
So the next item is Accessibility, and if you want to just give a really quick overview, and then we just need
Yeah,
to.
let me
get
see if I
started.
have my letter. There it is. Okay, do I share that? There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, because I asked the committee to give me a letter and we never really got one, but I decided based on the fact that you guys had voted to have it removed, I went ahead and requested through Regina a memorandum to have them remove it. Okay, the overlay, and you guys have this in your packet, and you can see that we requested them and that the software is not helping people with visual impairments to utilize the websites, so that it would be better to just not have one. And I thought this would be enough. It was received by the webmaster. She accepted it, but I guess after reviewing it and maybe discussing it with other individuals in the system, I got back an email saying that they'd rather have a discussion with the legal department about how this may or may not expose us to a compliance concern or violation if we remove it. Because I think they received pushback from Accessibility saying, well, 800 people use the website and things of that nature, but that didn't say they were successful in using the website. So there was no positive measurement of accessible access using them. So
Was
that's
that
my
800? Was the 800 clicks on the website?
yeah, and that's where I'm
I was
wondering.
at least 40 of those. And
Yeah,
I'll
and
tell
that's
you,
and that's where I'm saying that's where I'm saying that it doesn't measure anything of success. And so and then accessibility, as you all know, will exaggerate their success with
Yes.
that kind of reporting, or an analytical report is what they call it. And I didn't appreciate that they did that. And of course, staff is nervous about removing it. They are relying on it, but they also misunderstand that accessibility is not the final solution or the complete solution. I mean, they themselves individually would haven't convinced me that they are a solution. And so, and there's other apps that probably could do better, but I think overall we need to step back and the committee can assist us in identifying what barriers exist without the overlay. What is the priority that we need to fix for the website? Is it access by readers? Is it color contrast? Because and so forth. Documents. What do we need to identify? So that's a bigger discussion, a bigger approach, and the webmaster is interested in pursuing that initiative with our assistance. But of course, they're cautious. It's how it is. And
But
so
that's
I have a meeting next week, I believe, with the legal department and the webmaster to discuss accessibility. And that's what I'm going to go in there with, telling them that it's bigger than just the website. There's more to it. It's about digital
Yeah.
compliance.
Yeah, and just so you know, on my phone, I mean, I wish I could turn it off to test it, but on my phone, when I use the text reader app, it will only read the city of Santa Fe, and it skips all the way down to the bottom. It does not read anything in between. Everything else is blocked, and it shouldn't be blocked because everything else on all the other websites that don't have accessibility are reading fine. So it seems like it's accessibility that's blocking it.
Yeah, and I
So-
ran a test. I did about 4 different tests from 4 different software companies who provide similar accessible overlays, and they tested the website. In all of them, they identified that we were maybe 66% or worse in compliance. And then when I ran it through Accessibility from my personal email, from my personal laptop, like if I was an outsider, to have them measure the compliance, the first thing they said, well, detected accessibility feature website is 100% accessible. And I kind of had my doubts because others have complained about it. How can you be 100%? They happen to give themselves 100% because they happen to be on the website or as the overlay. So of course they're not gonna give themselves a bad rating. And
Eli, really quick, and then we need to go because it's 5:30. So
Yeah, thank you. Just in the interest of time, I think Daniel had mentioned putting together a subcommittee. And I think that would be a good idea because, time is of the essence on this. And I think as quickly as we can ramp up for this, that we can provide feedback for Daniel so that he can, talk with the city, be informed and advocate.
Yeah, and then we could address the letter from the subcommittee to the webmaster in a friendly so that they don't feel that they should be concerned with the participation of the committee. Because I mean it's natural. They're worried about compliance and violations and they're apprehensive of involving anyone to know too much, I guess, for the lack of better languaging of this situation. But I know that the webmaster takes pride in the work that they're doing. They want to do better. And as I've discussed things with her, she is open to making things work. Before my arrival here, I think this committee has approached this subject and it wasn't received in a positive way. I want to rebuild that approach and rebuild that relationship so that it becomes a working cooperative relationship because it's the community that's going to give input to identify whether we're succeeding as a government in providing accessible viewing of documents and access to the government services through the digital methods. And so that's what I think it's important that we rebuild that relationship with them. So that's why I need this subcommittee to send something positive to the staff and let's build something.
I would hold a vote right now, but there's almost no one here. So
let's not do it. We can table it and it's not an actionable item anyway.
Yeah.
So this is food for thought.
Well, my understanding is we can create a subcommittee whenever we want, but
you can do whatever you want to do.
yeah, but and we've done that in the past, just to create working groups. But we will do that in the next meeting. I made a note of it, and then so that way, I mean, I would do it, but I always say like if someone else wants to take it on, please do. I can always provide feedback in the meetings. That's fine. So I will do that in the next meeting. And then after this is matters from the committee. And there's no matters from the committee for me. If someone else has anything to add, please go ahead. Our next meeting is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. And with that, if there is nothing more to add, we are adjourned at 5:35 p.m. And thank you both. And thank you for the captioner for staying over. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to stay on, Vicky, for the captioner.
Yeah, I was hanging on.
Thank you so much. I got it. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Okay.
we're good to go then?
Yes, we are. Thank you both.
All
Thank you
right,
all.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy, Vicky. Have a good
All
day.
right.
You too,
Don't forget-
Daniel. Talk to
Don't
you
forget to
tomorrow.
punch out.
Oh, yeah. Crap. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.